Okay, I'm back. We are going to start talking about binding and loosing. I was going to do something in Luke, and I felt like I needed to continue with more about prayer, and we're going to talk about some things that we're going to want to do in these next few months. I'm going to get right to it. Binding and loosing. Jesus was talking about this in Matthew 18:18. He says, "Truly I say to you, whatever you bind on earth shall be bound in heaven, and whatever you loose on earth shall be loosed in heaven. Again I say to you, if two of you agree on earth about anything they ask, it will be done for them by my Father in heaven." Okay, let's review that. A lot of people think that you don't have authority. He just told you right here, you do have authority. And he's explaining to you how you do it. He didn't say anything he binds on earth will be bound in heaven. He said whatever you bind, you have to do it. He's not doing it. He already did everything. Let's always remember that. He did everything. So now he has given that over to us to bind and loose. And he's saying what you don't want, you're going to have to bind. And what you want to loose, you're going to have to loose. So we have to say it. We can't just think it. We can't just want it. We have to speak it. And it doesn't mean that you can only do that with somebody else. He's just saying you have power in prayer when it's more than one. You have a lot more, you have an agreement on earth, so that's why, Adam and Eve, they gave up that authority, but they had so much more power than just what Adam would have by himself. So see, he's trying to get you to understand that there's corporate power prayer. There's, so when we come together and pray, it's really unstoppable. And we have to remember, we have power in our words. So we're going to speak to what we don't want and loose what we do want. Okay? And, Jesus used this method in everything that he did, in every case that came to him, every sickness that he healed. He bound the disease and he loosed the healing. He bound the demons and he loosed the deliverance. This is what he's trying to get across to them, is that we have that capability to do exactly what he did, and he demonstrated it so that we can continue doing the same things that he did. And he even told us greater things than he did that we will do. Now, we may not see that in our own lives, but I do see that it's happening in the earth. I mean, you can see there are people who have grasped it and they are using it and they are doing it, and it is happening. And so we just have to understand that he's no respecter of persons. Like, if you grasp it, you can do it too. I mean, we're his vessel if we allow it to flow through us. And that's with everything. That's with, the power of the word. That's with, prosperity. That is with anything that is provided. If we let it flow through us, he will use us as a vessel. And I don't mean it in he uses us. I mean that we are open to him, and we have said yes to him. Okay, because we've talked about that. God doesn't use you in the way that the devil uses you. God is only going to use a vessel if they're willing to be used and are prepared to properly let his power flow through them and give him the glory, because to him be the glory. It is never us doing it. It is always him be the glory. He does it. It's through us. See, spirit needs a body. So Holy Spirit needs a body, just as though even a demonic spirit would need a body. So it works both ways. We have to remember that. It's going to flow through you, whether it's Satan using you or God, okay? But you get to choose when you allow God to let you be his vessel, okay? He's not like the devil. He won't just come in and be a thief, okay? You have to allow it. You have to allow him to use you. And by us opening our mouth and allowing his word out of our mouth and being his feet, this is what allows him to work through us. All right. You know, he gave his disciples such insight to this, and yet a lot of times they just didn't grasp what he was talking about. You know, some people think that when Jesus said, you know, on this rock I'll build my church, that he was talking about he was going to build his church on Peter. You can't build a church, his body, on a person. He was talking about the revelation that Peter had, that he is indeed the Son of God. Okay, so because and in the Hebrew, he calls him a new name, rock, and he says on that rock, on this rock, and they're two different words. They're not the same word. One is a pebble that can be added, which is Peter, and the actual rock that he's talking about, the foundation, is like a mountain rock. It's like a rock that can't be moved. And so that gets really mistranslated, especially in the Catholic Church. So I just wanted to be clear, because then he kind of goes on and talks a little bit more about, and I'm giving you the keys to this kingdom, which means he's giving them the tools they need, the key to unlock that door to what the kingdom holds, which is the authority of God in our lives and on the earth, giving us back dominion, which I think is really incredible. Something I think we need to do too is when we want change in our own homes, we have ability to change it, right? We hold the keys to our front door, right? I mean, you can leave it unlocked and let anything in if you want, but you have the ability, you know, for the most part, it's your domain, your atmosphere is what you can control in your house. And if you're not controlling that, you need to take control of that, because we take authority over the atmosphere where these principalities can be and doing work. Okay, we take control over that, we take authority over it, and we bind what we don't want and we loose what we do. So bind the strife, bind whatever it is that's causing chaos, because chaos is of the devil, it's not of God. So we want to bind that out, so that when you're here in your sanctuary, your ability to pray and to acknowledge God is going to be a lot more heightened. And we're going to talk about fasting and prayer, because I think that it's important that this is a time that we should consider doing some fasting and praying. I'm talking about like a Daniel fast, where you're still eating some vegetables and, you know, getting a good amount of water, maybe a protein shake or something. But what I'm talking about is getting rid of the things, the excess, what we don't need. Even if it's fasting your social media, fasting, something, television, fasting, whatever, and focus on the Word of God and focus on prayer. That's what Daniel used to do, and many, as you find, through the Bible, fasting and prayer. But Daniel was really faithful in doing that, and we see that he received answers. So it's important for us to also do that. Okay. And I wanted to talk about, sweeping the atmosphere of corruption. So even with our local communities and the local government, we have these big elections coming up, and we want to be able to sweep the atmosphere of the corruption. And it has to start in your home, your community, and then the nation and the world. And that's how he wants us to pray, because that's how we gain our authority. You have to first take authority over this, okay? What you have, what you're steward over, okay? Then move out to your neighborhood, your community, and then start with, the nation and then the world, because that's how we are told to pray. It has to start at home and then branch out, okay? And that's the most effective way that we can bind and loose. We can take our authority, and we can be intercessing prayers for our country and other countries. But first it has to start where you're at, because your prayer won't be effective if you're in fear or if you're in strife or unforgiveness. So start there and work your way out. And during this time of fasting and prayer, which personally I'm going to be doing it along with the church that I usually participate in, September 8th through the 21st. And some of the things that we're praying for and that we are fasting for is we're crying out for justice in the land. We're crying out for an awakening to God, the shift that needs to take place, and for the thieves to be found out. Okay, we need leaders, not thieves, and that's what we have right now, are thieves. We need leaders. We need leaders who are godly, and what we have right now are leaders who are taking and are thieves and they don't care about people. They talk like they do, but their actions do not line up. Okay, so I won't even get into all that, because I think most people can see it. And if you can't, let me know, and I'll let you know what I'm talking about. There's about 15 things right off the top, that could be, it's a poking in God's eyes is what it's doing. Anyway, so some of these scriptures that I jotted down kind of talk about where we're at. So like Job, I'm going to check my time here. Oh, you know what? I'm going to do a part 2. I always forget I have to check my time.